has the data on you. So like we see more and more solution like that. So I do think it's gonna be like a balance. It's gonna be because honestly, it's like imagine like the calculator, right? Can you live without it? I cannot live without it. I'm really bad in math. So this I know only like a few people that can, you can just like do this exercise that, but I mean, or like for example, like Excel or Google Sheet. I mean, it's such a like really beautiful solutions, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of like balancing between like using the technology and how it can help us in the daily life, and but like keeping like the in person and like offline meeting, and because we are human, we are animals at the end of the day, and we should remember that. So I love technology. I love these robots, but at the end of the day, like I find happiness personally from being like in the forest, hiking, or being around with people and without like taking a look at my phone. So I think it's all about like the balance and like providing different solutions for like different people.
Totally
Because
agreed. What came to me
yeah.
right now is this notion of balanced decentralization, because what AI can actually introduce here is decentralization of a human's work, and kind of like taking over certain tasks. But then again, how much control we want to give to that decentralization element, and how much control the AI can have over our decisions. So that we need to kind of control that decision making process, and at the same time let AI do the work that we don't need to constantly do. You know, I still do believe that not using calculator is a good exercise, because it does train the brain in a way that is, we don't want to have those kind of aspects of our brain atrophied, removed. Maybe we will in the future. Who knows how much in the feminine, into more creative side, the humanity is going to shift. But for now, I think it's a useful tool, to have this, like the numbers rule a lot, and knowing numbers is an important aspect, without needing to rely on technology. Okay, I'm shifting gears. It's funny because this interview, I ramble a lot on my end as well with you. I feel that permission, and I honor you for that. Shifting gears into your experience organizing physical events, specifically, um, I'm interested in your experience dealing with the Burning Man community and organizing events of that scale. Anything that you can share about that would be super interesting to hear, because I never really asked you about that before.
uh, Wow. Yeah. So currently, I'm co-organizing, like co-running, like a side project. Like we are almost 500 members of people in the Midburn. It's like a version of the Burning Man that in the world, like the industry of tech, like high tech, innovation, entrepreneurship, and it's really amazing. And actually, we just started it because like some friends like were there, and like the one that like my friend which is like co-organizing with me, he was like an entrepreneur, he was a founder. So it's like if I wish I had like this community when I had my startup. So we started it like that, and people are sharing. So one of the things that I love about it, so yeah, like we started with like, okay, we want to organize like a meeting. It was like during COVID times. So we just like gather like in a rooftop that someone like just like offered. And then a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, which is a founder as well, he shared from like it was amazing. It showed like how we want to build like like a company with this like work-life balance that the employees gonna be happy, and so it's like really interesting discussion. I think like people will stay there for like a few hours after the talk. And now what we are trying to do, like with organizing events, is like just like okay, if you have an idea for like a gathering, like we're gonna help you with like the boring stuff, with like finding a location or doing what you need, and but you're gonna be like you, the community member, gonna be informed. So I think when you organize things like that, it's like more collaborative, more shared, and that's the thing like one of like part of like the Burning Man culture, because in the Burning Man you say like, okay, if you're not gonna do that, it's not gonna be. So that's why people need to take the initiative and to do stuff. And I I find it very valuable because like when people they feel part, they want to come back and people want to share. So sometimes I do have like to push it a little bit. For example, I shared with the community that I was really frustrated that no women are sharing, like, or they want to speak, and why there over like only the men members that they want to talk. So like you do have to do your work as a community leader. You do have to like raise up like the concerns and the challenges. But I think like if you're doing like two ways direction, I think it works beautifully. And it's very challenging to be a community leader. But I think like what I take from like the Burning Man culture as well is just like again like to see what happens, just like experiment, and that's innovation because if you want experiment, you're not gonna see like the results. So I think it's beautiful.
Okay, I mean, you're still gonna see some results because the consciousness level is rising and people are changing through these events for sure. I mean, I've been to a couple of burns and yeah, I mean, this is way better than any conference or a meetup series because I don't know, the level of culture agreement in these spaces is very unique. It's like everyone's coming from different cultures, but they are adopting a new culture. And some people are adopting it more in a higher scale. Some people are more of like observers and not so deeply participating in the gifting, for example, economy. I don't know. Everyone has a different idea of a gift also. Um, but it's a fascinating community, a group of people globally. That's honestly, I think this one we forget to mention when we speak about network states. We forget to mention the Burning Man crowd and people who've had these spaces together. Anyway, moving on, switching gears. 44 on the clock. We have 4 more minutes. um,
No rush.
Is there a question that you'd like to ask yourself, Tzufit? I would like to hear you asking yourself a question as an exercise.
I'm currently working on like New Year